So some of the things that happen in the course of developing a sex map, all of your experiences, whether it was playing house, whether it was someone coming in your room late at night, or whether it is just blatant someone molesting or raping you, um, those experiences, they form together and they shape direction in your mind. When you think about pleasure, you'll know how to get there. If Pleasure Island is here, then you'll remember that this is how I got to Pleasure Island as a child. I had unauthorized sex, or I was with someone and we were doing things that we shouldn't have done, but it led us to Pleasure Island. And so even if it is, like, again, inappropriate activity, most people are driven in trying to get to Pleasure Island. How do you get to Pleasure Island? How does your partner get to Pleasure Island? And what direction do they take? The direction they take is predicated on all the experiences they had from childhood, teenage, and even to adult. And so you're looking at the activity of your mate or even yourself, and you're maybe not even paying close attention to it, but it's worth paying attention to. Like, where do they go? Like, what route do they take to get to Pleasure Island? Some people take pedophilia and attraction to children to get to Pleasure Island. Some people take just dark, secret, down low and night creepers and all of those different things. They like secret sex. They like to be in relationships with people on the down low, whether it's male to male or woman and male, female and male. They just learn that the road to pleasure is through secrecy, right? And so it's important that we understand how people are mapped, what direction they take to get to Pleasure Island. There's nothing wrong with Pleasure Island except how you get there. And some people they just have a very diabolical or perverted way of getting to Pleasure Island. And the way that they get to Pleasure Island is they had to have experienced the route. Usually they have someone that comes in that's older than them or that has been exposed to Pleasure Island, and they take them there via the way that they've learned, right? So they're experimenting, they're on this path, and they're traveling, and they're doing all of these different activities to get to Pleasure Island. And the brain's job is to bring pleasure, to reduce stress, and the way it does it is by memory. So it takes snapshots, it records. This is what you did to get to Pleasure Island when you were little. This is what you did to get to Pleasure Island when you were a teenager. This is what you did to get to Pleasure Island when you were in that with those people or with that person. The brain has memory. And it attaches, like I stated earlier, the memory with the experience. The map and the emotion go together. So as you're driving, trying to get to Pleasure Island, it's almost like the dopamine is released and you're being aroused, and you are motivated to drive in that direction because on Pleasure Island is reward, right? And the thing about it is, on Pleasure Island, it's where you have your pleasure, but it's not where you are held accountable for your behavior. So most people just kind of alienate the Pleasure Island, and they're preoccupied with getting to Pleasure Island. Now, people who are preoccupied with getting to Pleasure Island, or people who are stuck in their vandalized sex map rotation or with their faulty directions to Pleasure Island, what can happen is that you can be arrested in your development. And so if there's trauma associated with that, if you were abused, and if you were, didn't necessarily consent in a way, because remember, children cannot consent, you can have arrested development. The trip could have been so traumatizing. The trip to Pleasure Island could have been so traumatizing that emotionally you shut down and cognitively you shut down. And now you don't have the emotional maturity to manage sex as an adult. So your sexual functioning level will be at the age that it was when you first encountered the sexual abuse. It will be at that level. And so you can meet people who are adults, but they're still in that sexual area. They are arrested in their development. Case in point, we are finding more teachers. We are finding even police chiefs, pastors who have a addiction to sleeping with young children. Their love maps are vandalized. They're just distorted and just perverted. The road they're taking to Pleasure Island is perversion. And so they continue to have that road to Pleasure Island. And even if they're married and they learn a new route through marriage, it doesn't disrupt the map that they have of going there with sex with children or sex as a child. And so in their immaturity, they never destroy this map or reroute or destroy this pathway and just align themselves with another pathway. And that's why you have stories. One particular story of a teacher who had began dating a sixth grader. And she went to jail. She eventually had 2 kids by him, and she died. She was an older woman. But what happened in that is that she could work. She was married herself. She had other children. So she was married with a husband. So she knew how to get to Pleasure Island with her spouse. But her love map, her primary love map, was connected to sex and connection as a child. So she was connecting with that young man in her arrested sexual development age. So it may have been in elementary. She may have been 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 when it happened, 13. And so chronologically, it made sense for her because emotionally and her emotionally sex maturity was at that level. So she was attracted to someone that age. Now, remember, we do have evil people who are attracted to children to exploit them. And that's not the same as arrested of development. That's exploitation. And that's a different type of evil where they are not falling in love necessarily, but they want to exploit, and they usually end up harming the child. So that's a different map where you learn pleasure and violence. That's Pleasure Island and Violent Island, where they're kind of co-joined together. And interestingly, as a pause, they found that when you watch pornography, there is a connection with violence and pornography. So that Violent Island is there too. And so we want to be careful that we understand the arrested development. Yes, they can be a teacher, they can be a pastor, they can be mature, they can have 800 credit score, and they can be a Boy Scout leader, and they can have all of this morality. But in the area of sexuality and sex, where they have arrested development, they are still dysfunctional, and they are still operating as a child with a child vandalized sex map. Their directions are skewed. And so, and the brain is just constantly reminding them, go this way, go this way, go this way. And they go that way. With the influence of the enemy, they go that way. And so that becomes a habit. We are creatures of habit. And whenever it has to do with pleasure and the release of oxytocin and all of those endorphins and all of those beautiful chemicals, it just seduces us, and it makes us hungry or crave the chemical release in our brain and in our body. So we're living by the chemical releases in the physical sensation of our body. That is the essence of a child. Now, is it okay? Remember, we talked about Pleasure Island as a healthy place. And when we're seeking Pleasure Island as a healthy adult with a healthy love map, we're just not going to Pleasure Island for pleasure. We're going there for connection. We're going there to be close to our mate, for intimacy. And the result is that we get pleasure. So it kind of reframes Pleasure Island as a result of Intimacy Island. So when you're an adult with a healthy love map, you reframe it to Intimate Island that affords pleasure. Whereas when you have an unhealthy love map, you just call it Pleasure Island because there is no intimacy, there is no healthy attachment, but there is only pleasure. It is only pleasure. It's very animalistic in nature. It's debased. It's just cause and effect, just pleasure, just action and pleasure, and it has nothing to do with morality. So that I hope that's kind of giving you an idea of what happens when there's arrested development and you become just addicted to the route of getting to Pleasure Island as a child. And children shouldn't drive. And directions, oh my goodness, they shouldn't be responsible for directions.